There we are. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us on today's Creators Live. You guys know the drill. If you are in the attendees list, please go ahead and join us as a panelist so you can turn on your camera, engage with us, have those conversations that we love to have on here. More than half of you guys are usually silent, and I think, well, maybe you guys speak for me here, but I reckon you get more value out of it when you ask the questions, when you talk and you interact with each other. I find is usually when the best content happens. Half of the time, whatever I'm talking about is minor, and what you guys end up talking to each other about ends up being the value of the session. So, I give you guys props because you guys really drive a lot of the content. Maria, looks like you're dying to share a win. Lay it on me. Thank you for joining us today, by the way. Oh, she's getting it. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much.
I just got back from vacation.
Hey, yeah. Where'd you go?
Actually a couple of vacations. We went to New Orleans,
New
Louisiana,
Orleans.
and then we just got back from Reno, Nevada.
Wow. Okay.
Now I have to get busy because I have a lot of returning customers that want some embroidery and some printing done.
Back at it.
Yeah,
That's the perk of being your own boss. You never truly get to go on vacation, do you?
exactly.
Well, glad to have you back. Glad you had a nice vacation from the sounds of it. Sounds very eventful.
Yes.
And happy to have you on here today.
Thank you.
And we
It's
got,
been a while.
yeah, it has. Glad you had safe travels. And we got Michael and Yvonne. They're in here. We got Tara and Alma. Thank you for joining us today. I want to hear from Mr. Ron. Ron, we were messaging a little bit earlier, and I have a little bit of an idea of how things went, but in case you wanted to share how that event went, because you were really hyping it up before you left us for a couple of weeks.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, let's just say, yeah, there was a lot of hype behind it. Everything was planned out, and then I got thrown a monkey wrench. Worked all week that Thursday, that Friday. COVID hit me. So I was down and out. I mean, it knocked the crap out of me. So for 10 days in the bed, it was brutal. Woke up Saturday morning and felt like a freight train just ran me over. My daughter came down, she tested me, and immediately went into quarantine for seems like forever. When you're off in a part of the house by yourself.
Mhm.
But overall, it was good because my children, a lot of volunteers stepped up and filled in where I was supposed to be there for the 10 days. So it really, it worked out really good. My wife took charge of everything as normal, and it just kind of, hey, I'm her employee.
There you go. Yep.
So I am thankful to be back. Like I said, I got COVID, and right away they put me on Paxlovid. Oh, brutal. But within a couple of days, I could start to see a turnaround. So yeah, that was my event. 10 days quarantine.
10 days quarantine, and the business kept moving.
Yes.
There was a lot of step up, and glad things went well with the event still. And I'm
Yep.
glad you're happy and healthy and back to normal.
Yes, sir.
So that's a big win.
That's a big win.
That's a big win. Health.
Well, it's good to see him back.
I was really concerned about my wife getting it with her autoimmune disease. So
Oh yeah.
there was a lot of precautions taken, and thankfully, she didn't, and everything is good. So
Good.
yeah, back to work. We finally landed that contract for that sprint race car team.
Yeah.
So we are knee deep getting ready for that. You know, it's a funny thing. Quick note here. You know, when you give a customer a price and you tell them what's going on, and then they want these giant oversized prints, and then you say, okay, here's your price for that. Well, when you go back to them and they say, for an extra inch and a half, no, it's not worth the price. So let's just
Yep. Yeah. Is that off the back of the emails that we did about the
yes.
us doing the fulfillment for those 13 by 15s?
Yeah, I had talked to a couple different people, Michael and Yvonne, and you know, it came down to the customer says it wasn't worth paying that for that extra inch and a half
Mm,
because you know that size changes things, you know, and
yeah.
so now you really get to see what your customers want and what they don't want.
There you go. Well, glad to have you back, Ron. Thank you for sharing with us today. Let's see. We got who else we got in here? Mr. Tony. How you doing, Mr. Tony?
Good. How about you?
Doing awesome. I'm glad to
good.
be back. Sorry I missed last week. I feel bad about it.
I missed last week too, so don't worry about it. So my son starts school tomorrow. He's starting second grade, so that's a win there.
Nice.
And then a small win. I hooked up with a screen printer here locally in my hometown in Florida.
Mhm.
So she doesn't do DTG or TTF. So we've been collaborating. So she gave me some orders, small orders, but then she emailed me today for order of 75 GTFs.
There you go. Nice.
So I'm hoping she keeps on giving me some business.
Very good. Yeah, those are the accounts that are going to help drive you to the next level. Glad to hear it. Awesome. You let me know if you need anything, if you need help with anything. Got to make sure you make a good impression on those clients.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Any other wins to share? I'll take volunteers now. I won't make you guys tell me anymore. Going once.
I'll go.
We got Tara. Thank you for joining us today, Tara.
And I'm sorry I'm not on video.
Yep,
Next
that's
time
okay.
I'll be on video. I hurt my back, so I haven't really been able to go really do anything. But it's a win because I'm doing a lot better. I worked through it, but I got 2 decent size orders. So I thought that was really awesome. I had one for 46, which I feel is a pretty decent order.
Yeah.
And another one for 30. The one for 30 was just a small front logo. And then the other one, I actually got an order to create their logo. So I've had some random 5 and 6. And then we have, where I live, we have a really nice community, and they just created a Jeep club and they asked me to do their logo. So I've been making shirts for them with the logo that I created. So it's coming along. I'm still in the learning phase. So I have a lot of frustration, which I'm sure everybody can speak to. It's a learning curve. So we expect things to go a certain way, and then sometimes they don't. So the lesson and the win for me this week was being able to, with the help of you, but being able to work through that without having a complete shutdown. And I mean, it did take a lot of time for me, but I managed. I got my orders fulfilled, and there we go. So
awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
My win.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have a follow-up question for the group off of the back of your win, Tara. How do you guys figure your pricing for doing custom design work? Can anybody volunteer some information about that? That's something I don't have any experience with. I only goof around in Photoshop for myself and for Traders Live purposes. So I don't do that aspect on a professional basis.
Well, I can speak to what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
if I do a graphic design, like, well, it's separate because I also do the logos and stuff as well.
Mhm.
So when I first started doing logos, I was like, oh, $70. And as I was like, okay, that's way too cheap because I'm not paying myself, $1 an hour. You know what I mean? Because I
Mhm.
have to refamiliarize myself with some things. But now that I'm back really in that mode, the last logo I just did, which I'm in the middle of doing, I charged $500 for, and I feel like that's a pretty fair price.
Oh yeah.
Now I always give a shirt with the logo that I create.
Nice.
To hopefully they're like, oh wow, you do shirts too. So they'll order shirts. So that's been actually really successful. And then as far as like designing, I haven't charged anybody, like if they're like, oh, I like this design, can you do it? I haven't really, other than one lady, I haven't really charged for that. Now I do have a lady that messaged me and she said she wanted this big elaborate design and I charged her $205. But she also is trying to create like a business for that. So
Okay.
it wasn't just like my sister said, hey, can you make this shirt for me? So I don't charge really for that. I've had quite a few shirts that people are like, can you make this? And I haven't charged for that, but I feel like I should. But I have to be careful because I don't know where to get my shirts cheaper than I'm getting them right now. So if I charge them, I don't know what everybody's charging. So I haven't been kind of involved in these sessions because I hurt my back, like I said. But if anybody else could speak on what you guys charge for your shirts and your designs, that would be really awesome.
Yeah, looks like Maria has her hand raised first, and then we'll get to Tony.
That's a great question, Brian. I've often wondered that myself because I get a lot of my customers, they'll just send me graphics or artwork, and then I have to go in and fix them. And I haven't been charging for that because first of all, I don't feel like I'm a designer. But I do spend a lot of work on it. So I've just kind of been dabbling in that. And then the other part of that question to add to yours is, do your customers ask you if you have a degree or if are you certified designer or whatever that term might be? I haven't been charging anything and I haven't been asked to create, but I'm always asked to work on it or enhance it, or I end up having to do it. So I appreciate that question and love to hear from the rest of you.
Yeah, we're going to totally sideboard what I was going to talk about. And I think this is a much more pressing topic, judging by your guys' reactions. Tony, let's hear from Victor. You were unmuted first. I saw you unmute. Didn't have your hand up, but
apologies. It depends. So a lot of clients already have a logo, and when I build a store for them, I don't charge them for any of the design process on the store. But when I do contracts with them, I do set a limit. I say I'm only doing $25 worth of work, and that includes developing the store. So if they end up going in the cycle of where they want to continue designing, then I charge them $100 an hour after that. But the logos that I designed for them, even though it has their logo in it, I own the ultimate design. So if at the end of the day, they want to go and, they stop doing business with me and they want to go with someone else, they don't have any rights to those logos. But for the question that you're talking about, where you're actually designing a corporate logo for them, I think your prices are correct, $250, $500, depending on the time. But I would definitely set the expectations on how much time you're willing to work on it. Because if you just say $500 for a logo and you don't put the time component, it could just be a time suck for the rest of your life. It really can. And then you end up with unhappy people. So if you keep track of your hours and you let them know and say, hey, we're at so-and-so hours, and then that way they know and they keep track of it. It also presses them to start making better decisions. And then you should also worry about the logo colors later, worry about the design first, and then add the colors. So do it in phases and lock down each phase so that you don't go back to that and you're always moving forward. As for buying the t-shirts, someone had a question. If you have a resale license, I highly recommend you just go with a lot of distributors like Sanmar and SNS and Alpha Broder. You can get t-shirts for $3-4 a piece. If you have a minimum of $200 orders for Sanmar, for instance, it's free shipping. And depending on where you live, you get it a day. So I live in San Diego, Reno, and Phoenix are my closest distribution points, and I get them the next day as long as I order by 2 o'clock. And then the one thing is when you have larger orders, especially with like SNS, they're very, very helpful with this. Like I have a pressing order for a customer that wants 2,000 shirts, and there's a price on the website, and I can pay that price on Sanmar, that wholesale price for those shirts. But if you call your rep, they could save you 50 cents a shirt or 60 cents a shirt. And at 2,000 shirts, that's a huge amount of savings. So definitely get to know your sales reps, talk to them, and then let them know what you need when you have higher volume, and they could save even more. And to be honest, that 50 cents that I save, I don't pass that savings on to the customer. I keep that for myself because I pretty much I quote them off the regular price.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Victor. Tony?
So most of my customers, they'll send me a logo or a thing, like it might be a drawing or JPEG. So I charge them like 35 bucks to transfer to the PNG form that I need. And if I have to do like change the colorings and stuff like that, I do charge like 50 bucks because it really doesn't take me that long to change a color or, put in a PNG form. It might take me like an hour or so. So usually I charge about 35 to 50 bucks, depends on, that. Usually they have a logo for me. So, it might be a drawing or a JPEG or something like that. I like to put it in the PNG form, so it's easier for me to print it, or put it on a film. It's a lot clearer. So, and then some customers ask me for a sample. So I usually say, I'll charge you, $18 for a t-shirt, and I'll do free shipping, and I can ship it to you. So if they're out of state, so I'll charge like 18 bucks I'm not making money, but again, I'd rather get their service in the long run if I send them a sample shirt. I mean, I don't tell them what size shirt and say, hey, you're a 2X, because usually they say, oh, I'm a 2X, I want a 2X. They usually just buy one and that's it, So I send them a small, and for that, I go to here in Florida, it's called Hobby Lobby, and I have a resale thing, so I don't pay taxes. So I'll get the shirt for like $3 at Hobby Lobby's a store. So basically, it's not really costing me that much to ship it and to print it.
Okay.
So that's what I usually do for my customers who are out of state. If they're local, same thing. I'll go there and buy a white shirt or a black shirt, and that's it. So that's what I do, and usually that works for me in my area because I'm in a low income area. So not a lot of people, will spend the 200 bucks to design it,
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Alma?
Hi. So I heard Victor Rubio say he had a large order of 2,000 shirts. Off the topic, I do include my logo or the logo that they give me with their designs. Most of the time, the ones that I get are really low resolution. So if they're purchasing a large order, I usually include the logo with the t-shirts. But then I heard him say that he had like a 2,000 shirt order. Are you printing those yourself, or are you outsourcing those?
I think he was saying that that's like the order that he would do for getting shirts from the wholesale vendor.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Well, because I've been getting a lot of questions, like the city here wants me to do their Parks and Recs shirts, but those are large orders, and I haven't done screen printing in so long that I think with one machine, I don't know if anybody else is doing large quantity orders like that. I did this last one that was about 75 shirts in 2 weeks with my machine, but I kind of feel like if anybody else has any suggestions on how they streamline that, because I don't feel like it's profitable for me physically to be doing that high quantity.
I don't like to say no to an order. So I mean, t-shirts.
I don't either.
I have friends who own screen print shops.
Oh.
And I work with them, and so
they're gonna make me some bread.
They give me volume pricing. I buy the t-shirts. I have it sent to them. I send them the art. They make the films and screens, and then they charge me per press. and then I upcharge that on the customer.
And how much do you usually go up on that?
I usually double the cost.
Oh, okay. See,
Yeah.
I've always felt like that was a lot, but I'm starting to think that
It's
if I'm the one finding the customer, if I'm the one getting the stuff in, then I should outsource it. But yeah, I know I feel like I'm kind of killing myself. That's why I haven't been to any of these, because I've just been getting these larger and larger orders, and I've been they like the direct to film more than they like the direct to garment, because the
Mhm.
direct to garment feels like it washes out, or I'm not doing it right, I don't know. But
So
they
if
do
it's
the
less
direct to
than
film, and I feel like I'm doing a lot of work.
If it's less than 100, I always do DTF, especially if I can gang up the designs on one sheet. So I print on the big 19
The
by
extra
12
large
and a
one,
half.
same thing I
Yeah.
do.
So left chest always, right? Because I can get 16 or 24 logos on
Yeah.
them. And then back chest, I can back or front, I can do 2 or 3 depending on the size.
Uh-huh. Correct.
And
That's the thing
less
I'm
than
doing.
100, anything less than 100, I do it myself. Anything over 100, I send it out, and that order goes directly to the printer. They box it and send it directly to the customer, and I just collect the check and pay everybody.
And then when you create the stores, is that a specific thing that you're creating them? Are you doing it through the OmniPrint? Like,
I
or-
don't use OmniPrint solution, though I hear it's very good. But I just pretty much use Shopify and ShipStation and run everything through that based on how I set it up.
Okay, because I have Shopify, I just don't know how to create a store.
Yeah.
Because I see you create all these like the school spirit stores and things like that, and
So
but for like the city, they're asking for they said that they don't do a deposit up front, which kind of makes me nervous, because
I don't think you should worry about the city. They should be fine. I would take that deal. But as for the you could just charge them a little bit more, just to cover that. As for the store, if my previous life was all e-commerce. So if you need help building a store, let me know. I can kind of show you what to do, and it's pretty quick and easy.
okay, yeah, I would love to get some help from you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was my question.
No worries.
Awesome. Thanks for helping out with that one, Victor. Tara, did you have another question? You still have your hand raised? Tony, you too?
I was just gonna ask Victor if one of the things I do is I limit to 3 changes. Sorry, Victor.
No worries.
You got all the answers today, I guess. I limit to 3 changes because what I'm learning is what a lot of customers will do. They'll look at it and they'll be like, oh, but I'd really like it blue instead of orange, just for an example. So I've learned to limit it. Now I haven't passed that threshold yet because I really try hard to listen to the customer on what they need. But I mean, I've done probably maybe 15 logos in all since I graduated school. But overall, that's where I'm starting. But you were suggesting to put like a time limit on it. Like, what would an average time limit be, do you think?
Are you producing merchandise for them as well?
Yes, and that's another reason why I'm trying to, well, some of them, that's the goal, of course.
So I would say that you have to find where your pain points are, right? If it's a 3,000 piece shirt and they want to change it, a couple more times, I would definitely do that without hesitating. If they're only doing 1 or 2 shirts, we're talking something different. But if you're doing a logo redesign, I would just have just a 1-page bullet point and say, look, we're happy to do your logo. This is the deposit that gets started. We will give you 15 hours worth of work, and we will keep a log of all this. You'll have we'll give you 2 designs to get going from, and then we'll take 1 round of edits to formulate 1 design, and then 2 edits after that. And that way, when they sit down and they think, and here's the part that really irks me, is a lot of times customers can only think of one thing at a time, and they're like, I like it, I like this blue, and then they come back later, but I want that other thing red, when you could have told me all of that at the same time. So you try to get them to sit down and really think about all the aspects and try to give you all the edits in one time, which I think is much better for your workflow. And then you say, okay, well, that was your first edit, and then you make all those changes to their spec. And then if they say, I want to do another edit, okay, well, that's your second edit, and we should be done after that. Yes, and then if they completely change the scope of the project, then you close out that project and then you start a new project with them, meaning it's the same logo, but they want something completely different. I consider that a whole new project.
Okay. Now,
It's a very tough field because everybody thinks that what you do is easy and it takes you 2 minutes to whip it up. And maybe it might take you 2 minutes to whip it up, but it took you 20 years to figure out how to do that in 2 minutes. And that's your skill, and they should pay you for your skill. But they think it's cheap and easy and you can do it. And unfortunately, you just got to follow that formula. You will have some unhappy people every once in a while because they think they should be getting something for nothing. But if you follow those steps, at least you know you're right where you are. You have your deposit up front. And if it goes sour and they walk away, well, at least you got something out of it, right?
Right. Yeah, I do charge a deposit, but everybody that I've been doing logos for, they've been really, really great. Now I know there is that customer because our other business, everything goes great. And then all of a sudden you get that whammy of a customer. And it's the same thing with that. They decide they want this. And in the middle of the job, they're like, oh, by the way, I need 10 fans hung and 18 lights and I want this tile changed. So I get it. I'll bring that practice into this because the way we do things there seems to work. So
and absolutely, that add-on sale is fantastic. If they want to do this and they want to do that, that's great, but that's a different project. Let's finish this one. We can even start a new one in parallel, but it has its own set of parameters. And if you stick to that formula, it really helps you get through the process.
Okay, awesome. I do have one more question for you. Do you ever do like a creative brief with your customers to try to get an understanding of what they want their logos to say, or even like a shirt? Do you do anything like?
I just had a call this morning from a nurse that works in my wife's hospital, and she wants jackets for their team. I think they're in dialysis, so they want a dialysis jacket. And they have no design, they have no idea. They had a jacket that said dialysis group or whatever. And so I told her, go to Google, go search to your heart's content, find designs that you like that have to do with dialysis, and then kind of think what you want on the jacket. You want the hospital name, you want the nurse's name, you want that. And then I will take those ideas and then formulate that logo for them. So I gauge their interest on how much research they do for that. If they're really passionate for their project, they'll give me a lot of ideas, and that's great. I use all of that. We'll have a quick conversation afterwards. They tell me what parts of each logo that they like, and then I'll use that to put it together. And then therefore, what I always tell them, I'm like, just do this so that I can see what your vision is. Because I can come up with something that has to do with dialysis, but it may be far from what you're thinking about. Send me what your ideas are, and then I'll put your vision on paper. But I'm not creative, don't worry. Just send me the ideas. I'll be the creative part of it. You just gotta push me in the right direction.
Okay, great, because that's what I do. And then once in a while, I'll get a customer that'll be like, oh, I don't know, do whatever you want. And I'm like, but what I want may not be what you want. So give me a couple ideas. So, okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I never start a job without them giving me ideas, because if I go in cold, I will never make them happy because I don't know what their idea is. Exactly. So I read out the ones that are really serious versus that are not by the ones who actually do the work and give me the information up front, because this is their logo, they're paying for it. They have to do that legwork or else I can't do it right.
Okay, awesome. I did ask you a question in the chat. What printer do you have? I'm just curious because I have the FreeJet 330 TX Plus, but I want to upgrade to well, I don't know if it's an upgrade, but I want the direct to film printer.
I have two 330 TX Pluses and I love them. They're great.
So how do you get a bigger print out of it? Because you mentioned that, so I'm asking.
I just buy the 12.5 by 19 sheets.
I think they're called extra large, or
Yeah, it's the XL sheets. They're 13 by 19.
13 by 19, yes, thank you. So there's 13 by 19, and then I gang them up with different, if it's a left chest, I can put up to 16 or 20 designs on one sheet. And if it's, and then I can do a large chest design, or usually the standard 9 to 10 inch wide, I can fit 2 to 3 of them on that sheet, depending on what they are.
Okay, Brian, we might need to change my order. I'm just kidding.
We can do it.
Thank you. I appreciate
as long as the mail hasn't been picked up, we can make it happen.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I'm running into but I am literally using every inch. If I got a scrap, I'm using it, even if it's a test print. I'm using every inch of that paper.
Good.
Tara, I've gone up to 12.25 wide and I think it's about 16.75 tall. So
Yeah.
that's as big as, and I have the machine, I don't know what it's called, but it's the
Printer.
one that heats up, that has the little air holes at the bottom that holds onto the sheet.
Heated vacuum platen.
Yeah, that thing. And
Mhm.
that helps tremendously.
Yeah, that's what I have too. Okay. I mean, I love the DTG and I love the DTF. There's such a learning curve for me for the DTG at this point that the DTF is just so easy in that aspect. In fact, I bought an oven, but it didn't work. So that's going back, and I just bought another heat press to try to streamline because I'm starting to get busy and I do have my daughter, we're in this together, but I can't do it by myself, and we need the extra, but okay, I won't keep everybody. Thank you so much.
Those were great questions, Tara. And
Thank you.
thank you for contributing to the conversation, Victor. It was definitely Victor hour, and it was awesome. And actually, as you were explaining your process, it reminds me a lot of how tattoo artists will do their art iterations. It's pretty much that exact same formula. So I think you're right on the money. I've seen that in practice when I was working with the tattoo people. Let's see. We had a question that passed in the chat. Mauricio, can you go back to that one? Let's see. Up. Okay, Taylor. Hey, it's Taylor Tubbs. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, I know how I answer this question, but just wondering how different folks answer it. I do artwork for a customer. I charge them for my time. They take that as that they now own the logo, which is not the case. How do you answer that question in your different areas? And actually, that's something that I wanted to pick Victor's brain about as well, is how do you really enforce ownership of the designs that you make?
I only give, when I mock something up, I always put it on a shirt. And when I send them the mock-ups, they look at the design on the shirt, and I don't give them the art files. I don't give them PNGs or anything like that. And I produce all of those in-house. And like I said, I'll spend a lot of time. See, my formula is that I'll build a store for a customer for free, including all the merchandise. And I do a long-term contract where I do all their product on demand, and I sort of make it up that way. If after a year or 3 years or whatever the deal is, they decide they want to go with a different vendor, even though I'm using their logo, I own the entire design. So they don't walk away with that design. They have to create everything from scratch, and that's fine, and we can amicably go by. Now, when you talk about logos, I'm very sensitive to licensing and trademarks. I used to work in a lot of pro sports teams, and I used to be the guys that would hire the cops to go around the stadiums at concerts and pick up all the contraband shirts and stuff like that. And so one time we just had a whole back garage full of it, and we just ended up sending it all to Mexico. But anyways, I do get that a lot, and that's something that I'm very careful with. I get people, like last week, someone wanted me to do a sweatshirt that had the doors on it, and it said Morrissey Hotel or whatever it was, and I won't do that stuff because I know that I don't own the license to it. I know it belongs to someone else, and it could be super easy for me to do, and I can make 25, I can make $30 on it. But I do so many other things with different licensing groups that one shirt can like spoil all that other stuff. So I have a customer who's like, hey, I want to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff for my kids. I'm like, that's great, but I can't do it. You need to go to, I send them to the site that sells it. And they're like, well, can't you do it? It's super easy. Like, yeah, I could totally do it. It's super easy, but there's just so much more at risk. And though I like you, your $25 for it is not worth it for me to lose all that stuff. So I'm very conscious about that, and I don't. The customers that I have don't do that. They don't go and have their stuff done elsewhere. So I'm not really policing it that hard. But it's it's something to be considered, and know that your most popular thing might be a Raider T-shirt in glitter, but that is actually not a legal shirt unless you're licensed. And I've seen the lawyers walk around with pre-filled subpoenas, and all I have to do is put your name, and they take your equipment, they take your inventory and all that stuff, and they walk away, and then you got to deal with all that. So that's my little side note on licensed product.
All right. Well, that was super good information, man. Yeah, we'll just here. I'll give you the keys to Creators Live for today.
Sorry.
No, this was great. I was just going to talk about the FreeJet support kit today. Did we have some other follow-up questions, Tara and Tony? Go ahead, Mr. Tony.
Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead, Tony.
Yep.
Sorry.
Victor, what I do is I tell people to go to Etsy and they can buy, drawings and stuff on Etsy, and they own it because they purchase through Etsy. And that's how I do it with people. I tell people to go to Etsy and then they purchase through Etsy, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or something through Etsy because they designed it and they own the rights, and you buy them from them and they send you the PNG. It's like a couple dollars. You can tell them to do that. And this way you won't get in trouble or lose your business. That's what I tell people to do. Go to Etsy. I don't know if you know about Etsy or not.
I do know about Etsy, and to be honest, that is not a licensed drawing. So the guys selling it on Etsy are not licensed distributor of the graphic. You have to go to the company that owns and distributes it. So if I want to buy make a Mickey Mouse design, and then people are selling designs on Etsy, you're right, I can go and buy that design and they're selling it to me, but they do not have a license from Disney to sell that item. You have to go through Disney themselves, and they have a licensing and trademark page on their page that tells you everything you need to do in order to get that. So though you are not part of the process of getting it, you should know that you are not able to do it unless you have some express written consent. And that's what everybody says. You need express written consent. And if they have express written consent, you're good. But they don't. And Etsy is a gray area, shady kind of backdoor place to get a lot of that stuff. And I know a lot of people do it, and God bless you, you make all the money in the world. I, as a personal choice, don't, and I don't judge anybody else who does whatever they do. I'm just saying that's kind of like how licensing and trademark works.
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
No worries.
All right. Tara, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't buy anything from Etsy either. I have some places that I get all my not all my graphics, but some of my graphics, and I do get the licenses and all of that for them as well. But what I was going to say is if I make something for somebody, I own it unless we agree that they're going to own it. And that's why with this girl, for example, I charged her $200 because I told her, I said, if I create this for you and it's a big hit, I'm going to sell it too. You know what I mean? I didn't go into that, but I just let her know, in order for you to own this and for you to have it, and have do whatever you want with it, you have to pay me additional for that. So I did do that because it's a lot of hard. I'm not going to say it's hard work because I love it. So it's not hard, but it's time consuming, and you want to make the customer happy. You want a good reputation. And so you're doing everything you can. And in all honesty, they should pay for that because they're going to.
Absolutely. 100%. Your design has worth, and your work in it has worth. And if a client were to come to me at the end, and in my contract, it says that I own all the graphics and I own the store, I own the code, I own the data, all that stuff. All that is mine. If at the end of the contract, they want to run off with it, I have legal recourse to not allow them to do that. But I also have leverage that they don't want to recreate the wheel and they want to sell it themselves and take it to a different vendor. Then we can start a negotiating process and we can sell that creative to them. And so absolutely, yes, that is 100% the right way to go. And whether that design is worth $250 or what did they pay for Nike? I think they paid the guy like $60 for the Nike logo. Whatever the perceived value of that was at the time, that was the deal, and they went on and did everything they wanted to with it afterwards. But yeah, you're right, Tara. That's the right way of doing it. I think that was Tara was speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Awesome. Wow, this has been really good. So what I wanted to talk about today for for those of you who are a little bit newer to the group, I know Victor and Michael, I know for sure you guys, because I take your orders directly, and Maria from time to time as well, the FreeJet support kit. So I know those guys, they already know about the FreeJet support kit. They know why it's good, what it's all about. It's a kit of consumable parts that you'll need over time. You'll need to replace it on your FreeJet. And we have it for the Omni DTF. We were talking about the Omni DTF one that we launched not too long ago. But FreeJet support kit, really good because you want to keep parts on hand for when things wear out and they need to be replaced. You don't have to pay for expedited shipping or wait for the shipping and spend time with your machine down where you're effectively losing money, right? So these things are going to be your consumables. It comes with a nice little cheat sheet here. So you got, that's not readable. So you got your pump, your ink tube assembly. So it's these short ink tubes. These go between your damper and your ink line. The clips go on here. Over time, these guys will wear out. They'll get all chewed up by the clips and they'll need to be replaced. Not as frequently as parts like the pump or the soak pads, but they will eventually need to be replaced. You have these little rubber O-rings. Here, I gotta get real close for this one. You guys can, there you go. Yeah. So these little O-rings go on those ink tube assemblies so that it makes a nice seal with the damper. You got your ink clips. Raise your hand if you've ever broken a clip and didn't have one on hand. I have, maybe Tara, or she has her hand raised from before. Well, when you don't have one of those handy, it sucks when you're trying to work with it. And you know, at the time, I had to use a binder clip, and that was not great for the ink line. But you know, it gets the job done in the short term. You know, you make do with what you got. And come to think of it, recently we did a session that was going over various long-term maintenances, and we were talking about the spit tray, that little silver box that's opposite from the pump. And these are the pads that go inside. So you'll layer these guys in there. There's 3 of them in here. We cut them here with a laser cutter. And these guys stack up inside that box and soak up a whole bunch of ink. So you don't have to drain that as frequently. And then we have one that goes underneath the pump. So when you install the pump, you would change this out or flip it over, depending on how soaked it is. And it sits right there underneath the pump. And then you got your dampers. These ones, if nothing else, keep the pump and the dampers on hand. And that's why we made this kit, is because we want you guys to be as profitable as possible and to keep your machine running, because that's good for your company, that's good for our company, because the more you guys are making money, the more money that you'll spend with us. So it's in everybody's best interest, right? So we got the dampers in there. And the whole point of this package is you're going to need the dampers and you're going to need the pump in the short term. The rest of these usually are bought as needed and not stocked. And there are things that you don't really think about until you really need to think about it. And having those on hand is valuable. So the whole thing is priced in such a way that it's going to cost the same if you just buy the pump and the dampers and basically getting all of this other stuff for free. So it's $575 for the kit, pump is $230, dampers are off the top of my head $35 each. So it carries a pretty good discount when we don't typically have margin to do discounts on parts. So if you don't have a FreeJet support kit, and I encourage you to stock at least one. I think one is good, and then as you, $575, yeah. And as you use up the parts, then you would order another one. If you can swing it, I also encourage you to have a print head in stock, because when you need it, you really need it. my regulars, Victor and Michael, you guys stock parts. I know Michael does. Victor, I know you have some stock of parts, but since you're so close to us, I think maybe your stock is a little less than what Michael carries.
Yeah, I do have a pump, and I did have a print head in back stock, and I used the print head recently.
Okay.
But yeah, I do have one of those backup kits for both of my machines, but I get it the next day from you if I need anything.
Yeah, you're real close to us here, so it's not as crucial. You know, the discount on buying everything individually, I think is the value for you there. And then for everyone else who's not in Southern California, the time save is, I think, more valuable than any discount we could apply to this guy. Tara says, I guess I need to get a print head. I do have the kit. Yeah, I remember you got that kit not too long ago. Or was it did it come with your printer package? I don't recall actually.
No, I purchased it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so any questions about the support kit? Not too long ago, we did a couple of different sessions on installing most of these things. So I didn't think it would be too valuable since we already have that up on YouTube in a couple different parts for installing basically all of these different things. Did you have any questions about these parts, what they do, where they go, what they're for? No, okay, good. I'm really glad that we had that extra topic fueled by Victor Rubio's expertise, because if I had just left it with that, this would have been a short session. So thank you again, Mr. Victor. You came in as my savior for today. And I think for a lot of folks in here, took away a lot of value. So any other miscellaneous questions that you guys might have?
Anytime, anybody, I'm always willing to talk about this. There's no secret, and I'm not trying to keep any secret sauce or anything like that. Just let me know. I'm more than happy to help.
Ooh, yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us on today's Creators Live. Really appreciate you guys all joining in. Victor, more than anybody else today, was the MVP. And anything else you guys need, you can reach me, Brian, at omniprintonline.com. See you next time. Bye. Woo.